IntelliVen. Welcome everybody to IntelliVen's Manage to Lead lightning lesson. Nail your ideal customer profile, or ICP, to align your executive leadership team, or ELT, and actually any team. And we'll take you through today our summary of a part of our overall program for Manage to Lead. If this was one of our 10 live MtL program sessions, we would ask you to keep your video on, but understand today if you're more comfortable with it off. Either way, that's okay. I'm Peter D., and this is Joyce Reynolds, my partner in crime here, a co-instructor and course designer. Over 30 years running businesses, we've learned that most leaders think they and their teams are clear, but they're not. Each team member is clear, but only about their own view. And clarity gaps run through every part of the business, from what it is you're trying to achieve, to what product you provide, to who you're selling it to why they purchase it from you, how you sell, how you deliver, what you watch to know how well you're doing. Everything, every aspect of the business, you find gaps in clarity. And what Joyce has helped me do is achieve a breakthrough by taking what we've learned in working with businesses and developing a facilitative way to make the different views that people have visible to each other and to guide them to collaborate, to align to a shared view on each of these dimensions of their business. So Joyce helped me develop an MtL module that introduces a tool, habits, and AI-guided support for each of these areas. In today's lightning lesson, we'll show how the what, who, why tool helps teams answer one of those questions, closes one of those gaps, which is, what is your ideal customer profile? So at IntelliVen, we help executive teams align. We have an executive alignment system for operations and governance for teams of all sorts. What we provide is a system to operate and govern enterprise-wide. It provides tools, habits, and practices, and AI-guided support to organization, function, unit, and initiative leaders who are navigating or preparing for growth, change, or complexity. They buy from us because we help them achieve alignment by working together to collaborate to get to clarity. So alignment is clarity reached jointly. And because the operating rhythms they end up with from what we do work with them on, they actually work and they stick. Investors and professional operators say that the fastest way to nail an ICP, and why is that so important? Well, an ICP is an essential element for securing funding or to negotiate a sale of of a business. Because the first question they're going to ask you is, what's your ideal customer profile, or ICP? And the thing is, it sounds like one question that should have one answer, but it's actually three interconnected questions that have to be answered in sync. So the first is, what product or service do you provide? For whom? By position and persona. Who actually is the buyer that clicks the bit, gets the decision to buy? And what is it? Why is it that they make that decision? What problem does it solve for them? Now, it sounds simple, but it's not easy for two reasons. First is cognitive load. That means you have to think about three completely different things to get all of these elements together in your mind. The what is tangible, something you can point to. The who is a person with a specific profile and a specific role, job, or situation. And the problem is intangible. It's rooted in beliefs, outcomes, emotional, and value laden. To think about all three of those at any one time for any length of time is extremely difficult. It tests working memory. The second reason is natural bias. People who work in product development tend to think about what, people who are in sales think about who, visionaries think about why. So the good news is your team, your board, your customers already hold the answers to these three questions. And what the Manage to Lead Intelligent Operations Advisor sandbox does is allow you to surface the answers from each of those different constituencies fast and snap them together into this template and provide feedback and guidance based on the logic that sits behind the Manage to Lead lessons that we've learned, and uses an AI-guided support process to allow teams to work together to collaborate to get to a single shared what, who, why. So what we'll do today is look at some examples of this in practice, first with Facebook and then a company manufactured name called UNet based on a real company. And then we'll work together and get you into the sandbox to work on a real case that you're familiar with, Walmart. And you are also asked at this point to click the link in the chat to get your own free org code for your organization that you can use later to access the Intelligent Operations Advisor sandbox for your business. So go ahead and click that link and request an org code, and Tasha will put together one for you and send it out to you right away. You can use it later today, and then you can take it with you afterwards and use it with your team in the sandbox. At the end, we'll have a Q&A, and there's a discount code for anyone interested in taking our course, 25% discount code if you sign up and enroll in the next 10 days. So first, we want to play you a little clip here. I'm going to just be sure I shared with sound so you can hear this. This is from a Senate hearing where Senator Hatch was interviewing, or grilling, a better word for it, Mark Zuckerberg about his business. I'm going to play the clip. It's short. Now listen carefully and think about what you're hearing in terms of what, who, why. Like when we're done, I'm going to ask you, what is it that Facebook provides based on what you hear here? Who, for whom, and why do those who it's for choose it? So listen carefully.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I remember well your first visit to Capitol Hill back in 2010. You spoke to the Senate Republican High-Tech Task Force, which I chair. You said back then that Facebook would always be free. Is that still your objective?
Senator, yes, there will always be a version of Facebook that is free. It is our mission to try to help connect everyone around the world and to bring the world closer together. In order to do that, we believe that we need to offer a service that everyone can afford, and we're committed to doing that.
Okay, so back in the day when Meta was still Facebook and this interview was going on, Mark said what he said. What do you think most people would think, having listened to that? What does Facebook provide? If you put that in the chat, Tasha will read them and let me hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so what does Facebook provide? Anyone? No post yet, Peter. Oh, there we go. So a platform to connect, connections among family and friend, a way for people to connect.
What's the actual functionality that's provided? What do you do with it, right? It's a place to store and access pictures and stories, right? That's what it actually is doing. For whom?
So who's the who? Everyone.
Everyone. And why? Why does everyone engage? Feels good?
Feels good, yep.
They want to feel connected, right? To stay connected to family and friends. So that's what we think when we hear this few seconds of dialogue here. Let's listen to the rest of the conversation and see what we think after that.
Offer a service that everyone can afford, and we're committed to doing that.
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
I see. That's great.
Okay, so what do we now think? What does Facebook provide?
So with this new bit of info, advertising
Access,
platform, Eric,
right, access to customers,
access to
access to customers, yes. Platform for advertisers, right? So the who is advertisers, right? And the why do advertisers use Facebook to access people, access us, the users? Because it gets a highly targeted segmentation. They can say exactly what they want to say to exactly who they want to say it to, right? So the question here is, do you think Senator Hatch actually didn't know the answer to these questions? What was he doing here? What he was doing was trying to reveal what's really going on behind the curtain at Facebook. And interesting, if you were running Facebook, would the people in your organization work better together towards what you were really trying to do if they had this second agenda versus the first? Well, think about your own organization. It's actually quite easy for people to think you're doing something completely different than you're doing. So what we need is a way to get clear amongst at least the top people in the organization exactly what, who, and why are. So here's another sort of twisted a little bit for pedagogy reasons, but based on a real case. I'm going to ask Joyce to play the role here of reading the what as entered by an executive from this company we're calling UNET. You're on mute.
I'm getting it there. Okay. The CEO says that UNET provides cloud native for workflow solution that streamlines operations for project-based businesses, delivering real-time insights
Or
for Fortune 500 companies
why?
because it addresses critical pain points in compliance and delivers a real-time data visibility to increase productivity.
Okay, let's go back up to the what. What do we make of that?
Well, a lot of words.
Yes, a lot of words.
A lot of words. They do something technical for project-based businesses, but
When you
that's
say
not the
when you
what.
say when you say project-based businesses, that sounds a little bit more possibly like a
Yeah.
who than a what.
Yeah.
And
So
then
they provide a solution, and then the why is the delivering the insight. So they put
well,
it
you
all
might
into the first.
right, you might think that the real-time insights might be part of the why. Doesn't have to be, but if you were trying to be strict about it and you're trying to sort it out and have everybody rigorously aligned around a single version of the what, who, why, you might want to make that clearer. So
Right. But I'm not clear on what they do. They're
right.
kind of just,
So it needs
they
a
need
little bit
much
of
more specific words.
work. And then let's look
Yeah.
at the who, the Fortune 500 companies. Now, here I mentioned that we have AI guided support here. I want to show you what we mean by that. So if you go, and you can actually do this, or you'll be doing this later, so you can start getting yourself set up if you want. But if you go to intelliven.com, it's up here in the title, and then go to the sandbox, which is right here, you can use a PC, tablet, or a phone. Get it to intelliven.com sandbox. You'll get to this screen here where you can log in. And what we'll do here is log in with UNET as our example. And we'll actually do that now. So I will go to Intelliven, Sandbox, log in with UNET. So this is the Intelliven Operations Advisor Sandbox. And you'll see here 3 tools on the left, the mandate, the WWW, and the change framework. And each of those tools has a set of functions underneath it. You know, a tutorial, an infer function, so we can infer a WWW and a mandate, assess and suggest where we would enter one and get feedback on it, and a consolidate, which would take many entries and show the similarities and differences between entries, and then suggest a consolidated version. We'll look at the what, who, why here and do the assess. So let's put in here Fortune 500 companies. We could put the whole what, who, why in here, but let's just put that one and see what it has to say. So basically what's happened is we've loaded up this this GPT, the Intelligent Operations Advisor, with all the logic from minutes to lead text, from the course, from prompts that are related to all of this, give the kind of feedback we would give if you asked us to comment on a given what, who, why. So here's our entry, Fortune 500 companies, and here's what IVOA has to say to us. The Fortune 500 companies lack specificity regarding the individual buyer. It should clarify a specific role within these companies, such as a CEO or CFO or another decision maker. Additionally, it'd be beneficial to include details about their prior experience, organization size, and location to enhance clarity. So that's pretty constructive feedback for somebody that's trying to nail an ICP who. And then it gives a suggested upgrade. So it says, the chief operating officer of a Fortune 500 company with a history of using traditional project management tools, but seeking more efficient, scalable solutions. The organization typically has over 10,000 employees and is located in North America. Now, it's not actually saying those are the exact numbers that you should have in your ICP or in your WHO, but it's saying you need numbers there. You need to be more clear. And I can honestly tell you that none of us actually put this prompt, the answer to this prompt in there. That's totally figured out by our IVOA GPT. Then what we can do is come back to here. Okay, so we've done this now. So here's the original entry. So we take the Fortune 500 companies and replace it with what, for example, in this case, a slightly modified version of what the IVOA told us to do. And then we'll do the same thing for the what and the why. You can see a much richer what, who, why for the CEO. Now let's look at the entry originally entered by the COO. Well, you see the COO for the who said diverse businesses, and the CEO is saying much more clearly a certain population of target companies. So one question is, how big a difference and how big a deal does that make? Well, if you let these differences sit, you have really four choices. You can just assume everybody's on the same page. You can ignore differences that pop up from time to time. Or if you're a power figure, you can mandate that everybody think about it one way or another. Or you can work together to collaborate to resolve any inconsistencies and make everybody think about it the same exact way. If you don't do anything in those first three answers, then it's quite likely that one day someone's going to walk in and announce you did a sale to a company you didn't even want to sell to. And you would have been upset that you were wasted your resources selling to the wrong kind of customer. What's the difference there? Well, that's really the beginning of getting off track. It's going to lead to silos and inconsistent messaging inside the company and in the market. It really devolves over time with scale. What you really want is everybody working in the same exact direction, such that we see how many arrows do we see moving up and to the right in the illustration in the lower right of this slide. Everybody sees 3. And what we really want is the 4th arrow, where everybody's working together in the same exact direction to get what we call our super arrow, because we've now aligned on what it is we're all trying to do. It's exactly the same. So now let's say we have 4 top team members, and each has entered their what, who, why, and iterated with IVOA and tailored it to be exactly what they think it should be in terms of specificity and clarity. And now what we want to do is use IVOA. As I mentioned, we can do a consolidate. So it takes the 4 entries in this case and points out similarities and differences between them, and then suggests a way to consolidate them, not to give the team the answer, but to give them something to talk about and to work on, to tweak, to get to the point where they say, yes, we've nailed it. And what happens invariably is you get a richer final agreed upon uniform version of the what, who, why by having worked together. And it's such that no one of the team members, even the leader, could have come up with on their own. The question still remains, is it any good? So then what you want to do is iterate with your market. So we have an assess and suggest loop here where we You have each individual enter and submit, check for clarity, specificity, refine and iterate, then do the consolidate, note similarities, differences, suggest and upgraded, and then loop with the team on that. And we do all of that in the IVOA sandbox. And then you want to run it by your market, right? You want to test it in the market, and you want to check for alignment with maybe your board and your investors and your partners, and then run it against the world, including some customers, some employees, and your marketing material. So what you can do now is use the infer function of IVOA to go to the website, read the website, and infer what is the www that's being communicated by your website. And then you can do a compare with the consolidated version from the team and see if the team's version of what the companies, what, who, why are match what they're communicating to the world. Same thing with the management presentation or brochure. You can also have load those into IVOA and have IVOA infer from those and then do a comparison. And we actually want to do that with you here. So we have the idea here that everybody can log into the sandbox now. So go ahead and go to intellivan.com and hit sandbox and get into IVOA using your name, your email, and then the Walmart org code with a capital W. And we'll give a little test. And so everybody will put in their www, and then we'll do a consolidate, see what that looks like, and then we'll do an infer and check off the website and then see how that compares to the consolidated. That sound good? Okay. So here is good. Let's see, I want to get to Walmart. We'll go here. Okay, so we have a few entries. So we can see here there's been some entries, and then we can go to consolidate and actually do a consolidation by selecting all of these and then say consolidate. So we can see one. Let's do this one. So what groceries, household goods, budget conscious middle America, low income Americans, lower prices, all shopping in one location. And so the feedback entry here, and you can look at this when you go into the sandbox, you can pop this open like I'm doing and see the feedback, and then you can see it's suggested for each individual entry. And you see there's multiple pages of entries here. So here's Chris, Aaron, Perry, and the assessment. And then we get to the consolidated. We see between all of those, we see similarities. So what entries generally describe a range of products, including groceries and so on. The who entries target low to middle income families, why, so on. And then the difference is the what entries vary specifically, with some being vague, like hard goods, while others. So you see a nice iteration here for consideration by the team. And then a suggested consolidated might be a low-cost retail store offering a diverse range of products. So it gives the team something to work on in terms of consolidated what, who, and why. And then what we can do is the infer and just put Walmart here. There it is. And now it's going to read the website and give us a inferred. And you see here this, you can also do, instead of a URL, you could enter an uploaded file like a management presentation or a brochure or anything you wanted that would you would want to test what it's actually saying. So here's our what, who, why. And then we can assess those results by putting them up into the assess and suggest and run through and assess and suggest on the inference. How good is the www that we inferred from the website? And get results for that. And then what we can do is to consolidate of the inferred. So we take the inferred and then the consolidated. let's say it's this one, and then compare those two. So we're comparing a consolidated version from all of the ones that have been input by the leaders and comparing it with what the website says.
And that's really important, Peter, let's emphasize, because even if your team comes up with something, this is what your outward facing message is to your consumers. And so when you do it, it's not just the team alignment, but that it'll either tell you that you're doing something different and you'll have to fix that for alignment, or it may say, well, for some reason we're doing this and we really need to look at it.
Yeah, there's like two choices. You can either change what you're communicating or change your www with respect to your market. But then you also have the same with your investors and your board. So that would be your management presentation. So all of those should really be in sync. And everybody on the top team ought to understand all of them the same exact way. Now, this works at the very top of the organization or any organization inside the organization, any unit, any function, any initiative that involves a lot of people working together on any particular aspect of the organization. And for each of those, we have the what, who, why that we've worked with intensively here, but also the mandate and the change framework. And the change framework, I should just show you real quick, looks like this, where you enter how things are now, why they need to change, what they'd be like in the future, what do you need to do to get there, and what's going to help or hurt that progression. And interestingly enough, you can put in what you have, why you want to change, what you want to do next, and leave the middle blank. And IVOA will generate a set of actions it suggests you consider taking for you to get started with coming up with initiatives to move from now to next. And it's really interesting is it comes up with some really progressive things that push the thinking of the team into dimensions and spaces that it wouldn't have gotten to on its own. And then you can come back to the overview for a summary of all your actions and generate a report of all the work that you've done. Again, individually or as a team. Okay. Let's go. So that's a little bit of a walkthrough. So you see, we entered a www, we consolidated individual entries, we inferred from the website, we consolidated the group's www with inferred. Let me go on a little bit, and then you can ask questions about this. Some tips that we've trained IVOA with that we teach in the class. Keep it simple. Use present tense and simple one-syllable words. Just say it with no words if you can. If you do use words, make them simple, everyday, understandable. Be uncomfortably specific. And then you could be more specific than you would normally be, and then be more general if you feel you want to back it up. Aim for the ideal, not all possibilities. Most people make the mistake of trying to not shut out any possible who, for example, that they could sell to. The reality is, who do you want to invest in selling to next? So it's your ideal next customer. If we get ICP, ideal customer profile. And then when you're developing your www, you want to say what you want to say once in the section in which you would have belonged. So you saw the UNET example. We had some elements in the what that really might be better in the who and another in the why. That's where we get sort of the grammar of the www. And the other is stick to facts, not belief. It doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is what you can back up with facts. And what do others say about you? What does a customer say? What do market pundits say about you? Not what you say about you. So the ideal who is your ICP. And what's interesting is there's 5 characteristics. They have the problem you solve. They have to solve it. They have the resources and the business case that make it make sense for them to invest in your solution. You can get to them, and they're good to work with, meaning they're not terrorists and you don't find yourself at odds with them when you're interacting. So the question is, which of these do you think most organizations use as the primary one to decide who to sell to next, especially early stage organizations? The reality is most will gravitate towards can be reached. They'll sell to who they can get to. And then once they've sold to everybody they can get to, interestingly enough, they try to get connected to more people and try to join boards and join clubs and try to get more connected so they can get more people that they know they sell to. The reality is you want to find people who have these characteristics. Your ICP has to have those characteristics. And then you want to go out of your way to find a way to get to them. That's when you call in Facebook if you're that kind of a seller, or find someone who used to work there, or that is a lobbyist that works there, or a connection there, or however it is they consume information, you want to start getting on their agenda. We have in the lower right here an article written by one of the senior operating partners at a private equity firm that we work with, who has really embraced what we're doing here and used it to great effect with many organizations. He's written a post on what makes a great WWW, and we have a hot link here that you can get out when you get these slides. You can take a look at it. So to manage your sales, here's the algorithm that he uses and that we use. List all your customers and top prospects. Sort them by how valuable they are, considering not just the immediate term, but the long-term potential. And then identify the top customer characteristics. Those that you sorted at the top in step 2, what are the characteristics across those that we want to target to look for? And the IVOA can help you with that. So we have, in addition to the sandbox, you can use IVOA fresh out of the box. It's loaded with IntelliVen logic and managed to lead logic, and you can simply ask it for a set of customers, what are the similarities between these customers? And it can begin to help you there. And then compare your prospects with the ideal and use that as a guide to how you decide to allocate resources. Who do you invest in? Who do you assign to do what? How much effort do you put in based on fit? So the takeaways from this are preparing a WWW is a challenge, more difficult than it might first seem, but it can be done and it is straightforward. I mean, the logic isn't that difficult, but there's nothing in the press of day to day that will make it happen unless you as a leader say, we really ought to sort this out. So that begs the question, is it worth the trouble? And what we find is just by sorting this out, initially with the what, who, why, you get an incredible lift in performance. And then we use the same technique in all these other aspects of the business as well. And in working together to do this, it tends to build the team. So working on the WWW builds the team. Watch out for missing WWW or missing Ws or many Ws. If you have multiple WWWs, like many different segments of customers, each one essentially defines a different business. Even if you're doing the same thing, if you have to talk through a different channel in a different way, well, you're in a different business. So you need to decide which business do you want to develop, or do you have enough resources to pursue many? Maybe you pursue a new one because you've maxed out on an old one, but you want to do that consciously. You also find that good, better, best WWWs come with iteration, reflection, and use. Take whatever you come up with, go and give it a try. You'll learn from that and put it in, and then factor back in what you've learned. And they can exist as part of your mission, vision, or whatever else you have, or not. If they're there, fine. If they're not, develop the WWW, keep it separate, or tuck it in there. It's a cornerstone of your business, sort of an architectural behind-the-scenes storyboard that you use to then drive everything else. Your sales, your marketing, your development, recruiting, governing, all get driven by that. So first, people ask, what if I have multiple units in a whole? We suggest doing it for the whole first. If you do it for units first, you'll become blatantly obvious that you haven't done it for the whole, because each subordinate unit needs to be rational relative to the whole and rational to the others. So it's actually the best practice is for the top to do it, and then to do it at every function, unit, and initiative level down below.
But reality also comes in there, Peter, right? And so we'll start with the vice president. But
Sure.
as Peter said, when we've done that in the past, if you have a division or something like that, it's going to put pressure on the upper management because they're not going to have the consistency that is better when it can
Right.
cascade down.
And what they learn and what the languages they'll be talking will be slightly unrecognizable to those above them. And they'll get a little bit frustrated by that, and it'll be a little bit confusing. So they'll be better off, but it'll be even better if you start at the top. This is the roadmap for the whole program. There's a link here to a video that walks through this that you might like to see. Each of these is one of the 10 modules. And this video walks through those. I won't do it here, but I encourage you to take a look at it if you're interested. And we have a landing page. This is also hot. You see, we have a couple of classes scheduled, one launching in February, one launching in April. We'd love to have you enroll. And if you do that in the next few days, is 25% off thanks to Maven offering a fast 25 discount. That's a pretty significant discount at $900 per person. We also prefer and encourage people to do the class in teams. So it's a leader with their team in a cohort of other leaders and their teams. And a lot of the positive feedback we get is how valuable it is for the leaders and teams to apply what they're learning as they go through to their case, which we say your case is the course. And then they share with each other in the cohort what they've come up with, and they give each other feedback. It's pretty incredible how productive that turns out to be. So given that, we want to give you the chance now to use the iVoa Sandbox on your organization. So if you haven't already, find the link in the chat and request an org code. And Tasha will send you an org, set one up and send you an org code for you to enter your www. And then you might want to infer your www from your website or management presentation or brochure, and then go ahead and do a consolidation between the two. You're totally welcome to do that right now. And then you can do it not only right now, but you can do it after now. Just get that org code and you're all set. Just go to intelligent.com, ask for the sandbox in the menu, and log in with your org code that Tasha gives you. And you tell her what you want it to be, she'll give it to you. And then if you have some luck with that and you want to do it with your team, have everybody in your team sign in with the same org code and do exactly what we did here. Each one can make an entry for your organization. Then you can do a consolidation and you can compare what they come up with each other, and then with your website or brochure or management presentation. This QR code is to link in with me if you're interested. And with that, we'll throw it open for questions. And if people want to go ahead and try it out right here, right now, and ask questions, if they have any trouble, we'll be happy to sort it out with you. And if there are multiple people from the same team and they want to go to a breakout room, we can also arrange that.
Well, if
Peter,
there are any questions?
Yes.
I just wanted to emphasize how one of the last things you said was this was straightforward and relatively simple. It is very simple, and but it's not easy.
Right.
Simple but not easy.
And
Yeah.
I think that when I have watched teams, I participated with Peter with a team in a workshop doing this, and was very surprised at the 4 C-suite people who were there, how long and detailed and thoughtful the discussion was. It was really incredible. So it's well worth it.
Yes, Kristen.
So say I'm working with Mango Materials, and I go in to the sandbox and I say, this is what I think we're saying our 3 Ws are, right? Then I go to the website and I say, this is what I would take away from the website is the 3 Ws, right?
But this is what someone would take away. Yes.
Yeah, this is a third party would interpret it as.
Right.
And then the software generates the consolidated, right?
It generates a suggested consolidated for you to consider.
Yeah.
A better second step, though, is to get multiple people from your team, from
Right.
their team first. But
Yeah.
just to make the point, you can say, here's what I thought, and here's what the website thought.
Right.
That would be very demonstrative for them. Hey, Eric,
Although,
good to
Peter,
see
I
you, by
will
the way.
Can I actually just a refinement? You may have meant this, Kristen, but when I heard you speak it, you can actually have, when you're in the sandbox, there's a button to have it infer from your website. So you don't have to.
Okay.
What you do.
Yeah.
You just put the website name in there, boom,
Right.
it'll give you
Yeah.
feedback.
Same
And
thing
I-
with the
and I was gonna
management
say-
presentation.
Yeah.
And then
although we said,
Go ahead, Joyce.
Well, I'm saying, although we say in terms of the process, there are some reasons for doing it with the team first, but I had yet to find an executive team that doesn't say I'm too busy at the beginning. And so one way to do it rather than fight that is you do an infer, which is this is what the website says, and then you give it to people. Is this what we do?
Right.
And that,
Right.
it's a reaction to something versus
Yeah.
forcing them to do homework.
Yeah.
We
And
like the other one because
the other is to take a
Peter really
brochure.
likes the other one, but this
Well,
is the
you do
background.
both. They also like taking
Yeah.
the management presentation or the brochure
Yes.
and seeing what those say. Just, because everybody says their team is aligned.
Right.
Unless they've been through the program and gone through the process, I can guarantee you they're not. And we can prove it simply by having everybody fill it out. And Joyce is saying, well, that's often a harder task, a bigger lift. So we start with this way, but ultimately we just have everybody fill it out and they
You're
can
gonna
see for
have
themselves. We don't have to do anything. It's all happening. They're just doing it with themselves. We're just using AI facilitation to guide through a process. Scott, you can speak from experience with this.
Yeah, unmute there. Yeah, absolutely. We went through the whole Managed to Lead program, and it was fascinating. We really realized right away that we had two businesses that we were working on and trying to grow, and we really only had the bandwidth, the financial resources, the people, the skills, the market knowledge for one. And just this exercise, and this is before the benefits of AI in the system. We got there, but it just took more manual labor. But this exercise really helped us focus.
Hey, Eric, your team went through it before we had AI as well.
Yeah, that is true. It really kicked off a lot of change in our organization, and we're following a lot of those practices today. And we've since implemented a lot of AI, but you still need structure for that.
Right.
You can't. You need something to work with. So, yeah, definitely helpful, and I'm excited to. Perfect timing for me on this stuff because we're working on some new marketing initiatives. So.
Great. Good to have you here.
That's great.
Anybody else have a
Good
question
to
that
see.
they want to ask? Anybody want to give it a try? Kristen, you have a code?
Yeah, I mean, I think you already ran it for us, right?
Yeah, but
Mhm.
didn't really spend a lot of time with it. You just sort of did it off the top of your head, right?
Well, no, remember when I met with you before, you ran it through the
We did the
process.
we did the infer,
Right.
but well,
We
you
did
could
the
do it.
infer.
You could do it for yourself and be much more thoughtful. I think we just did some rough single word examples as opposed to what do we really do. But also you could do it with Molly and the others.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that I already see the
You get it,
problems. Like I know the problems and they're huge because our problem is what problem are we solving? And I think I mentioned this briefly in our last call, which is our customers' Mother Earth, not polluting it with plastics, right?
right? Right.
And the issue is how, and we've had plenty of meetings like with potential customers where it would be one thing if all customers were looking for biodegradable solutions, but right now policy isn't making it a pain point for anyone. So no one, that it's hard for us to keep claiming biodegradability when there's not that pressure, that pain point for people to
Yeah,
switch to biodegradable materials.
you're in a missionary kind of mode there,
That's why I had switched to toxic,
right?
like educating people on toxicity.
Rodney, are you still there?
Yep, absolutely.
Do you see how this could be useful for your is it Maggie?
Uh,
What's the name of it?
Maggie's one of them. Maggie's one of our account leaders. Yeah.
Right,
But I mean, I can see where potentially across all the accounts and then rolling those accounts up into the portfolios, how it could help people align. Because I mean, it's always been a huge problem of people getting aligned on what we're trying, because we sell so many things to the federal government,
right,
Mm.
right.
and getting people aligned on what do we really focus on and who are the best customers to focus on.
Well, and I just want to emphasize, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a small part of one of the 10 modules. By the time you're done, you'll have a rigorous AI-guided facilitative process to close the gap on so many different dimensions that really tightens up operations and governance and get you on track to much higher performance and growth. With that, I'll stop the recording. We're happy to stick around if you have more questions or want to try something or see anything.